Hello, welcome to Scrap Time episode 756. My name is Christine and on today's episode I'm featuring the wedding ring template from the Crafter's Workshop. Today I am featuring the wedding ring templates from the Crafter's Workshop. They are designed by Julie Van Balzer. And you can see that they're rings that all overlap one another, and then each little segment is a different pattern that repeats. This is the 12 by 12 template. And it also comes in the 6x6 templates. We're going to do an acrylic paint resist technique with it. I'm going to show you the one I finished. Put my stencils down. This is a journal page I did, and you can see that I used acrylic paint. I used a larger stencil for this page. And then I used some sprays or inks or stains, and then I also went over it with a bit of stamping and some gesso with some other templates and added in my little design and these cards from Seven Gypsies. So I have started a sheet here. This time I used the 6x6 template, and I didn't want the all over design. I wanted it sort of in my corners and then just a little bit throughout. I like to use the studio paint when I am painting over my templates just because it's a thicker paint. This is by Ranger. And so I was still able to get the detailing there. Some of the paints that are thinner may go underneath your template more and you wouldn't get all that nice detailing. So that's the one thing you have to think about when you're using acrylic paints with your stencils. So with the studio paints I was able to get the nice detail of the stencil. And then I just had more of a dry brush and went over it just to get some of that pink throughout, just to pop out a bit. So I'm going to be using some Glimmer Mist sprays over top of this page. And what's going to happen is wherever the paint is, it's going to resist the spray. So this is Candlelight. Then this is the chalkboard spray, it's Valencia. I'm going to put in some Tutti Frutti. And then just a little bit of brick. Brick is quite a dark color, so I don't want too much of it. And then I like to go back, and I think I'm going to get some orange. And now that I'm getting more spray on there, you see the colors tend to blend out a bit more and mix with one another. Throw the yellow back over there. Now we're getting some action. So I can now move my inks around a bit. And this is how you can get some neat texture. So I'm going to just clean up under my book here. And so now when I do this, you can see now the pink, wherever the paint was, it's popping through. The spray doesn't stick to that pink. Pick up a bit more of the excess. Now the darker I use, spray-wise, the more you'll see that pink. So I think I'm going to use a bit more of the brick. And then maybe the pink will start to pop a bit more underneath the red. You can see it in here coming out, so So it doesn't matter what color sprays or stains or whatever you use over top of the paint will always resist it. Now I used to wonder sometimes when people do resist why they don't just do your background and put the paint over top if the paint is opaque. And the reason I like to do it this way is because even though the paint resists your other products, it still sort of gets worked in and blended. If I was to do the background and then put my pink paint, it would just stand out more. You would say, oh look, there's the paint. Whereas when you do it first and you're working with your products, then it just sort of gets that worn, blended in a bit more feel to it. Just a bit more yellow. And of course you don't have to dab your page like this. I'm just doing it to make sure you can see how the paint resists that. So that's a pretty good background there. I'm just going to zap it a little bit with the heat gun to dry off some of that extra moisture. Okay, so now we're going to add some more texture to this, and I'm going to use stamps next. I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. So I have this stamp here. It's from Stamping Bella, but Julie actually designed it. It's the Paint Splat. And I'm just going to use archival ink with it. And what I do is ink it, and then I randomly just put it wherever. And now I'm not so concerned about the paint resisting it. I'm trying to cover the paint a little bit more to blend it into the page. Like that. And then I have these circles, which were also by Julie from Stamping Bella, called Julie's Perfect Circles. They're unmounted rubber, but I don't need them mounted. I like to just ink my stamp and then put it down. And I'm not too concerned about the full circle showing. I don't want solid circles all over the page. With the big one, I usually just ink a portion of it and then just do it a little bit over. Like that. It's another circle, but sometimes I'll overlap my circles. I have a little tiny circle here too. So that's enough stamping for now. Then I'm going to take this Punchinella stencil. This was also designed by Julie from a previous release. And I'm going to be using Claudine's gesso, Studio Gesso, with it. And I'm going to use a brush, but you don't want a lot of paint, because I just want some white, just sort of like that. You're just getting a little bit. I'm not putting heavy amounts of paint. There's three different. You have your circles, your little chicken wire, and stars. I'm trying to get it really thin Now if you wanted more white showing, of course, use more paint. I just want touches of white in different places. Gonna get a little bit more there. Yeah, and so you just work it around like that until you're happy, and you can see ways you can build up your page, be it a card or an art journal or even a scrapbook layout, just by doing some paint to begin with, spray, stamping, some more paint, and you can just keep working it until you are happy with your final result. And this time again I was featuring the wedding ring template from Crafters Workshop, designed by Julie Fayfan Balzer. Well, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to check out my website at www.scraptime.ca. And on our next episode, I'm showing you a technique using La Blanche stamps. So please join us. Thanks for watching Scrap Time.